I am not the technical expert that we maybe need to run a podcast by ourselves. It is a one-woman show right now. Hopefully at some point I can get some guests on and whatever, but hello and welcome to your daily dose of happiness. This is the Fairly Often podcast, and I'm super excited that you're here. Me, super red today. You, equally happy and excited to see me. If you're listening to the podcast, obviously it makes no difference. So, I'm really excited to be here today because today's episode 5, is about self-actualization. So, I'm really excited to get to talk to you guys about this today because this is the whole point of the series in general. Like, why are we doing this? What are we trying to get to by having our needs met and learning about ourselves and growing and increasing our awareness? Like, what is the whole goal, you know? And if we've talked about that you can't ever really be 100% happy, that's not the type of creature that survives and moves into the future, then like, what is our actual goal in life? And in doing this podcast, and really it's to reach a level of self-actualization to do and be all that you can. Oh, I realized that our thing behind us is missing. Well, that's different. I like having it though. Let's see, can we get this on? It is paramount for all of us in society to work diligently every day and to have the desire to be the most that we can be. You know, you're not supposed to wake up every day and be like, I can be basic, I can be regular, I can just exist, I can be comfortable, you know? Like, the whole goal is to get out there, do things, grow as much as possible, live every day to the fullest, and how are we gonna do that? So it's really cool that this is the end of the week, and this is episode 5, so we're gonna get to our 5 hours a week of practice every single day, for an hour a day. And then tomorrow and Friday, you can take some of these skills or really think about the episodes. You can rewatch some things or take the time for yourself to meditate or put this hour of self-care. But I really think that you should get 7 hours a week and maybe not just like the time that you're here with me, because we've talked about this week about a lot of things, about our, first and foremost, our physiological needs. I kind of really just like glazed over them in a hard pass in episode 1 because episode 1 was mostly an introduction to how we're going to structure our happiness over the next 12 weeks. But we've had our physiological needs talked about, so sleep, eating, air, sex, things like that. We've talked about our physical needs for safety and for the ability to exercise some amount of control in our life, to have some predictability and security in our outlook on the future. We have talked about our love and belonging needs, about community and friendships and romantic relationships, and touched on the need to have fulfilling connections in life and to do things with people who make you feel good and to belong to things like sports and clubs and community organizations. And we talked about our self-esteem needs and the need to feel important and respected, and to have admiration from our peers, and also admiration for ourselves, to hold ourselves in a high regard and to take care of ourselves and feel worthy of providing ourselves with care. We covered all those things, and all of those culminate into and help with our desire to be the all we can be. So, like we talked about most of the week, like we've talked about most of the week, you're gonna come and go through these phases of having needs met, different time periods in your life, different things going on with you, like changing schools, or changing a relationship, or moving, or anything can upset our physiological needs being met, right? Like, obviously, if we're moving where we're gonna live, we may not have another place, we may not like where we're going, we might be going very far, and the culture and environment is going to be different. Like, so many things can impact different parts of these, or different stages of these needs being met. So many different activities and places that you grow in life impact your different needs. So the more you grow and the more continuously that you have change in your life, you're always going to have needs going through an ebb and flow of being met and unmet. So coming back to different skills based on different levels of these needs. So you may have had all your physiological needs met and move on to your self-esteem needs, and then realize at some point, like, oh, I have some love and belonging needs that I need to deal with, so let me go and reassess that. So it's constantly that 2-step forward, 1 step back. We always want to be growing, but we always have to have that level of self-awareness that it's going to be a very unfair life. Like, they talk about in almost every single religion, in every major religion, healthy teaching, happiness, and psychological growth, that life is not fair. Life was not meant to be fair, and life is not going to be easy or fair in that fair sense of, like, good things happen to good people, and people who do good have good come to them. And if you're a good person, you'll have good come to you, and bad happens to bad people. And it's just not true that life is going to be fair in that way. And there's some reassurance in that just because bad things are happening currently doesn't mean that they're going to continue to happen. Just because you feel a way about yourself now doesn't mean that it will continue to feel, and your circumstances will ever be changing. So even though life is not fair, it will change, and you will have opportunity to grow and seek happiness. So I'm going to take a cookie break. I made cookies today because while I was thinking about self-care and about, is it good for me to eat cookies after I've worked out, and I decided that exercising opportunities for creativity in baking was a good opportunity. Cooking for people that I care about and providing nourishment and sustenance to the people around me is a characteristic of love. So, and I really like cookies. So all in all, self-care, baking and eating cookies went out today. But I have a level of awareness, and that is one thing that we've reiterated over the week and stressed over the week that you and everyone who wants to be happy needs to have a healthy level of self-awareness and needs to have a healthy level of processing about the world around them. You should maintain your self-esteem so that you can at least do the basic things to take care of yourself, but you should also have enough self-esteem to know when you are lacking below your full potential and have enough awareness of what your full potential is and the things that you believe that you can achieve. And it's always funny because when we talk about this, I think about this concept that I heard on a show called This American Life, and it's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And the Dunning-Kruger effect insinuates that smart people don't know how smart they are, and dumb people don't know how dumb they are. That, like, dumb people always think that they're smarter than they are, and smart people always think that they're less smart. And not in a capacity of self-hate or anything, but smart people generally believe that the world around them is as competent as they are. And the world around them is not as competent as they are, meaning they are bringing themselves downward and saying, everyone else around me is just as equally as smart and knows equally as much as I do. And dumb people are looking at the world and saying, I know the same things that everyone else does, meaning they're bringing the world down to their level of achievement. But saying that to say that you have to have a level of awareness of the things that you can accomplish, no matter whether you're dumb or smart, you should still have the capacity to want what's best for yourself and to achieve everything that you can achieve. And no matter what other people are achieving, you should every day wake up and say, like, I need to live to my full potential, irregardless of what this person is doing to get to their full potential, because you may be one of those smart people and saying, everyone else is doing just as much as I am to get to my full potential, and they're really not. Maybe you're not around an environment of people that are really doing the things to get to their full fulfilled self every day. And it's a challenge in your journey for happiness to consistently surround yourself with people who provide you with a good time. It's a challenge to make sure that your environment is wholeheartedly supportive of your growth and your happiness and are speaking words of positivity into your existence and your relationship. It's a challenge to have integrity and stand up for yourself and speak with a level of firmness when it comes to people around you viewing and treating you ways that you feel like signify respect to you. So no one's saying that it's going to be easy, that you're always going to be in these environments, but in that sense that it's not easy, the opportunity to grow and growing is never easy. The human brain is almost 100% of the time going to deceive you and try to get you to seek out areas of comfort, right? Like, no one wants to have a bad life. Like, we were talking about it earlier on Twitch today, that, like, this is episode 5 of the podcast. You're here with me forever. Now it's my job to take care of you. I have you forever, and in the I have you forever and I want you to live forever, is I want that existence to be a good existence. I want you to have a happy, healthy, comfortable existence. That is not always to say that you will lay in the bed of clouds and be plushy and be fed grapes 100% of the time, because that's not growing, right? Like, not having challenging conversations, not having physical feats, not maintaining a schedule or any type of consistency, that might be considered comfortable, but it's not really like good for you, right? Like, so things that require growth are not always going to be easy. They're not always going to be the most comfortable, but they're going to be good for you, and they're going to lead to like a good existence and a good and happy life. Like, we're talking about it all throughout this week, that getting those basic, like, little immediate physiological needs, a deficit need, something that you're going without, fulfilling that gives you that immediate gratification. Okay, I was going without food, I've eaten. Okay, I was going without sleep, I get to sleep and I wake up in a better mood. You get that immediate gratification because it's like a thing that you were going without. But when you start to work on things of growing, when you start to not just focus on the things you're going without, but the things that you look at life and you really want to get the most out of, then you get a massive amount of gratification after that growing is done, and after you can look back and in hindsight see how far you've come. There's a level of gratification and fulfillment and esteem and basis, foundation for your life that you get to have when you do those things, when you search for growth and not just a deficit, when you're more focused on a positive reinforcement, when you're more reinforced by like a reward than you are by a punishment. There are a lot of people who are rewarded, who internally do things because they don't want to be punished. They're like, I go to work so I don't be homeless. I go to work so that I'm not without food. And it's opposite from the people who are like, I go to work so that I can put a piece of me into the world. I go to work so that I can be a contributing member of society. Like, the way that if you look and move through life and fulfill different needs is going to be fulfilling a different place of happiness. And earlier today, I had a really good talk with with the lady who was doing my face, and we were talking about how growing happens. And what I was explaining to her is that anytime you're like uncomfortable, unsafe, or just like in a place that you're not like, if your brain is like, okay, I don't like this, this is uncomfortable for me, this is not pleasant, I don't want to be a part of this, or your brain is like, oh my god, I'm unsafe. Your brain goes through this thing where it sends chemicals into your brain and it tells you to change this situation, right? Because that's what fight or flight is. When you come up to a situation and you're like, I do not like this, I'm suffering in some way, or so much so that it's unsafe for you to where you'll die. Like, if you get those chemicals in your brain that tell you fight or flight, and it's like a very unsafe situation and you do not fight or flight, you may die. You might freeze immediately and die. But if you have a normal situation where you're just uncomfortable, or it has lacking in integrity, or you're not fulfilled in that situation, you have some type of suffering in some way, your brain is going to send chemicals to stress you out, to tell you to change it. And when you don't do anything to change it, you go through a phenomenon called freeze. So fight or flight is like, hey, you're being stressed out, you don't like this, change this situation. This is not good for you. You're not growing. Something, whatever your brain is telling you to do something, and then you don't do anything to change your situation, you allow yourself to be victimized. You sit there and you're a part of an abusive relationship, and your brain is telling you, hey, get out of this abusive relationship, and you stay. You're going to go through a phenomenon called freeze, and freeze is where PTSD happens. And freeze is where you impact your self-esteem. Freeze is where you know your body sent you a signal, where you tried to protect you, and you didn't do nothing about it. You just accepted some amount of harm to yourself. You will suffer mental fatigue and anguish, and you will go through freeze and PTSD if it's that bad of freeze. And then you will have impact of your self-esteem because you didn't take care of yourself when your body told you to take care of yourself. And sometimes that happens hundreds, if not thousands of times unconsciously. You all throughout the day, you don't like a situation, you don't change it. You don't like your relationships or your friendships or your work environment or where you live, and you do nothing to change it. And your body is constantly sending you signals. Hey, I'm stressing you out, so you have a behavior, so you change. And then you don't change. That's going to impact you, man. You're going to be like, why don't I care enough to change who I am? Why is my body telling me to do these things and I don't do them? You know? It's just going to be something that you're going to feel like you're not taking care of you. And when you don't take care of you, you let other people not take care of you as well. You accept relationships that are not fulfilling. You're in friendships where you don't grow or you don't help those people grow. Self-actualization is about being all that you believe yourself to be and achieving everything that you know that you're capable of achieving. And the thing is, in that, you have to say nicer stuff about you than you say about anyone else. You have to believe more about yourself than you believe about anyone else. If you think that humans can scientifically figure out something, if you think people have an athletic feat, you have to figure out that thing that you're destined to do and believe you're destined to do that more than anyone else is destined to do the thing that they're destined to do. Because if you're supposed to believe all that you can believe and wake up every day to put one foot in front of the other, to honestly say, look, I got 24 hours and that amount of 24 hours has to be worked toward my life goal. That's the only way I can be happy. You know, the thing is, a lot of people meet all of these other needs on this self-actualization pyramid. They're like, I found a place to live, I got a girlfriend or a wife, I have a relationship, I have kids, I have a job, I own a business. You know, they go through all the steps. I told somebody the other day, you make money, you're doing a thing, you own a business, you wake up right now and you do the thing that you love. Or I said, you wake up and you do a thing for money, but are you doing the thing that you love? Do you wake up every day and are you fulfilling what you're here on earth to do? And it was like, yes, you don't work for anybody and you're your own man. You get to control your own life. But are you doing what you were meant to do? You work every day and you go through the motions of doing a thing, but is that thing fruitful at all? And they had a little bit of self-awareness, a little bit of, light bulb turning on of like, you're right. The goal, everyone says, is to work for yourself and make a life for yourself and to provide for yourself and have a family and be a part of a community and all those things, but nobody really tells you to be who you're meant to be. Because a lot of people aren't being who they're meant to be. It's very hard for someone to coach you or a community to guide you into the right path if they also don't know who they are. And we've had a massive expelling of people into this country from other places in the world who are trying to meet their basic needs. The American dream is that you can be anything you want to be, and a lot of the time that sentiment is like, you can take care of yourself and pay for things and you can get a job, but it's not like we want you to be fulfilled in everything in life and wake up every day and really strive to be all you can be, because we understand that you being all you can be will then help your community around you. Like, that's not that's the other part of it, is that once you take care of all of you and you are a whole person who is valued and has respect from your community and is born or is has qualities to them that they are a beneficial person for society, then you will try to help the other people around you. You will work to make your community a better place, and you will work to help other people get to the level of success and happiness that you're at. Because when you get to happiness, I think you oftentimes realize that it really is based on your natural innate abilities, fulfilling those, being all that you can be, and that has to 100% be unique to you and different from someone else's experiences. So self-actualization is a place that you get to based on what these psychologists say by meeting all the lower levels, right? Like having a place to your own to live and a partner and a community and things like that. But for each individual, it's probably a combination of different levels of, or different values of each of these levels, different amounts, different makeups for each people based on their childhood and their upbringing and based on the friends that they've chosen. Some people, they went without so much in childhood. They were so destitute or had so much poverty or lacked words of affirmation in any way that making money is the only thing that's important to them as an adult. And if they get good friendships and good relationships and a good community, all the better. But if they don't make money, then it's like traumatic for them. And that has to be understood, that some people will go without full amounts of these levels because they need to be fulfilled in other ways. You can also look at it from the side of people who have been born with safety and security and born with their physiological needs met and no deficit needs will not wholeheartedly conceptualize that in adulthood sometimes and really move towards self-actualization and fulfillment and love and community without regard to those, because they've been provided for them their whole life and probably will still be provided for them. Like, I have a friend who, her parents still pay her car insurance and her cell phone bill, and she's like 28, so well into the amount of time that it would be appropriate for her to pay her own things, but she just doesn't have to provide those for herself and never thinks about them and never has any anxiety about them, and focuses wholeheartedly on other things in her life because those basic needs are being fulfilled. So cookie break. So I want you guys to think every day about your happiness in the sense of how aware am I of what's going on? How realistic am I about my environment? Am I saying positive things to myself? Or am I saying negative things? How much gratitude do I have in my life? Am I grateful for myself, my environment, my relationship, my current state of being? Like, do I say negative things about my environment? Am I jealous of other people? You know, they've done studies about jealousy on Facebook and people being jealous of their friends, and they've shown that it's actually tremendously harmful to a person's mental health to look at Facebook and look at people's lives and be jealous of that. And to even say slightly negative things ever, that sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, is not true. Even slightly harmful words to yourself chip away at your tools and your ability to fortify yourself and your surroundings for negative things to come. Life is not fair, and it is everyone's general hope that they can go through existence without having to face things that they are not prepared to face. But at some point you may have to, and having a toolkit of things and having worked on every skill and removed every amount of self-doubt and every amount of feelings of unworthiness really do help to fortify you for anything that comes your way. Taking responsibility for the good and the bad in your life, taking responsibility for how hard you've worked on really being happy and getting to your own happiness, and being honest with yourself, being honest and responsible to the person that you want to be tomorrow, today, that really leads to happiness. So if you don't take the time to have personal integrity and to lead with integrity, you know this thing that people always go around talking about, I speak my truth, but they never tell the truth. They never tell the truth to themselves. They never tell the truth to other people. They lack general awareness about existence and their existence and the way in which they fit into their community. Having a life of integrity and waking up and honestly doing the things today that you know that you're supposed to, taking care of yourself and working towards self-actualization, meditating, taking responsibility when you find a deficit, not being a victim. All of those things will positively contribute to the way that you see your life and the way that you see general life around you, and that will help you get to a level of happiness. So I think this week there was a lot of things that I learned, and a lot of differing in the research and information that's put out about this. It's like some psychologists are like, your basis for survival and the way in which you look at your needs being met is core to how you're treated as a child. And if you don't get things met as a child, then you can never have them met in adulthood, because you're no longer a child and no longer have survivability needs. And it's like, then you hear some people say, like, you can't blame your childhood for what's happened to you. Like, no one wants to hear that excuse. And I think it's like, the reality is the combination of, like, you really need to just pick what's gonna lead to a good life for you. And it's probably gonna be hard. And you're probably gonna have to give up a lot of empathy and sympathy and a lot of the world looking at your situation, or getting a level up or some type of help from having a hardship. Because at the end of the day, bad things that happen to you have happened, and we have to accept that we can't change them, and that we don't need to push them down. We need to take them in and say, like, this has happened to me, and I can choose to pass on the harm of this negative thing happening to me, or I can pass on the learning from this negative thing happening to me. And you can decide to ask people in your community for empathy. You can ask people in your community to feel bad for you. You can ask people around you to say, like, I'm gonna do the emotion of caring and looking at you like something bad has happened. Or you can ask people to do the emotion of caring of, this person is resilient and has grown, and this person is a member of society who's able to get through the hardship that life has to offer. And it may change the way in which people look at you or deal with you, but passing on your knowledge from hardships helps the world to have one less negative story. And if you can see your story as a way in which the world wanted to keep you here instead of the world tried to knock you out, if you can look at the story as an opportunity that you grew and changed and worked on fulfilling a need through a hardship, it will give you and the people around you the assumption that you have value, because the world is choosing to teach you lessons instead of the option and, like, the outlook that the world is trying to remove you from its existence. That you do not have value in being here. And that's what happens when we talk about our story in a negative way, or we allow ourselves to pass on trauma or pass on negativity. You know, when we say there's generational curses and generational trauma that has happened when people are marginalized, are harmed in some way, or people are abused, or people have addictions, or a lack of affirmation of who they are as a human being, we can oftentimes do that exact same behavior to the next generation, to the other people around us. If we are assaulted, we assault other people. If we're told negative things about ourselves, we tell negative things to other people. And we can exercise that same behavior to other people and become the villain. We can not harm other people outright and do the same thing that happened to us to them, but we can explain to them or share with them the way in which we were harmed, and shape the world in a negative way, thus carrying on that pain, thus allowing people that love us to know that we're harmed in some way, thus informing your community that the community is broken or shattered or has places that it needs fixing. There are people who, not the villain, will become the victim of these stories. Or you can choose to be the person who grows, who improves, who finds ways in which the struggles and hardships that they went through can positively impact people who may be going through struggles that are very much the same. You can become the hero of the story, the person who looks at life like it's forever forgiving and growing, and that people are resilient and need to have experiences to be able to educate people and connect people and make people feel like they're not so alone in the world. Self-actualization, when you get to the place of happiness and when you get to the place of being all that you can be, waking up every day and saying, this is what I'm here to do. And despite any type of hardships, despite any type of obstacles, I'm going to put one foot in front of the other and do that thing. You then help the people around you do that thing. And when you don't talk about harm that came to you from a non-learning experience, when you talk about harm that came to you from a way in which you grew, you also impact your community in a positive way. You also seek out to help other people to look at things as growing experiences, to help other people to see that they are still here on earth and still valued, and there's still a reason and a purpose for them to be here, and that every day they should wake up to strive to achieve that purpose because they are still here. Because a hardship gave them more skills to be here longer. And that evolution is not easy, but it will continue to happen. And if you want to be one of the people who make it into the next generation, you need to do things that are uncomfortable and reasons for you to grow. You need to assess and have an honest assessment of the world around you and things in which will carry you on to the next generation. I had a really interesting and fun talk with my doctor earlier today. She is so unaware of most things on the internet, so when I speak to her about words or internet communities or things that are very specific to outside world, outside of her immediate environment, she's so entertained and so alive. And I talked to her today about self-actualization and a very real group of people who go with the idea of comfort instead of growth, and that they will not carry on to the next generation. So if anyone has heard of a social phenomenon called hikimori in Japan, it is a group of men that the Japanese government estimates is about 500,000, so 500,000, but really experts believe it's like far greater, like into the millions of men who are part of Japan's lost generation, who in a time of economic downturn or economic issues in their country were faced with a lack of job opportunities, were faced with a lack of opportunity for self-fulfillment, and have now become reclusives and people without relationships, without romantic endeavors. They have no social drive, and they are almost completely isolated to their rooms, and they very rarely even speak to their family members. These people are choosing comfort by not seeking out putting themselves into the next generation. These people are reclusives and are afflicted by the idea that they were not going to be able to fulfill their purpose in life. They were born into a generation of people who in their society were faced with no options, and these people decided to withdraw from the idea or the possibility that they were deserving of fulfilling their goal, and that they must fight and push and decide to grow. And because they didn't, they will not carry on to the next generation. They will not have children. They will not pass their genes on, and thus they will not be a part of evolution. And also, very much like the Hikikomori, we here in the United States and much other places in the world is a group of people called incels. And incels is a shortened term for people who are involuntarily celibate. And when you talk to people who are incels, or you read about incels, they talk about the term celibacy as a very fantasized term, something that's very fantastical, that like when you say you're celibate, it's the notion that people want you and you're saying no. That you have sexual options, but you decide not to do them. And that celibacy is a very romanticized term for people who are able to get romantic partners because they want romantic partners and are not able to find them, and thus are considered involuntarily celibate. And much like the Hikikomori community, the involuntarily celibate community are becoming people who will not be a part of evolution and carry on to the next generation. Involuntarily celibate people generally believe that women do not want them, and that they do not go out and make sure that they are part of the evolutionary process and mating process. And I was a part of a podcast recently where we talked about the author of the book The Rational Male was there, and we talked about this idea of alpha has sex and beta bucks, meaning the alpha males who are determined, who go out and try to live their purpose, seek out happiness, people who have high self-esteem. Those are the people who get to have sex and procreate and be a part of the dating and evolutionary sphere. And then they said the beta bucks, which means provides the money and the financials. And the thing about this incel community is that by choosing not to grow and not to be uncomfortable and not to have a purpose in life and decide that you're going to do things to have value to the opposite sex, if that's who you want to be sexual in nature with, who you can work on not being celibate. If you don't choose to be uncomfortable and to go out and do things and grow and have values and skills and seek out the opposite sex or whatever sex you're into, to do things to appear attractive, then you're going to miss procreation. You're going to miss the generation of women who are on your same age and miss the ability to procreate with those people. Because the thing is, with young girls, like 18 to about like 25, those women are interested in people their age or men who are very successful older than them. if you're a man who's older and just learning how to date and just learning how to go out and talk to people, just getting your self-esteem in order and meeting all of your deficiency needs and actually working on your self-actualization in your 40s and 50s, it's like the young people who are under the age of 35, because 35 is considered high-risk pregnancy for women. So if you're anywhere between 35 and older as a man, and you haven't been a part of the dating sphere, you've been an incel and involuntarily celibate and didn't do the things to like work on being uncomfortable and go out and date, you're gonna be dating women who cannot have children. Because you're gonna be too old for people who can have children to want to date you, because you're lacking in the skills of anyone who's competent in that. You don't have that suave old man vibe of like, I've been getting girls forever and I know what I'm doing. So you're going to have to date women who are around your age, and those women are not going to be able to bear children if they're in their 40s and 50s. So you waited your whole time to get good at something and to be comfortable, and now you've moved yourself out of evolution. So it's like, if these people in this involuntarily celibate community don't get on their bike and start to work on being uncomfortable, gaining skills, going out and practicing socialization, interpersonal communication. Bro, conversations are hard. Making someone like you is hard. Doing things of value and confidence and self-esteem and meeting all these other basic needs is hard. Like, nobody said it was going to be easy or fair. And nobody said that someone else gets something and that you being jealous isn't going to be hurtful to you. But like, you may work yourself right out of evolution by trying to be comfortable. And then that group of people, they don't carry on their traits to the next generation. So like, uh-oh. So, sorry. I have about 10 more minutes of this podcast left before I open up for questions and talk to you guys about things. But I think that, anecdotally, I can just talk to you guys about my journey through self-actualization and how hard general happiness has been. Like, when we say happiness and contentedness and getting to a place of really waking up every day and living and striving to your full potential, those things all seem to go hand in hand. To be a fruitful person in society and to live a fulfilling life, to get to that point of generativity at the end. And although I've always known that at the end of your life, you're gonna go through a process of looking back, of saying, there's no more decisions. There's no more trips. There's no more learning a new instrument or singing a new song. There's no more dancing or learning how to do that. I can't be that woodworker that I wanted to do. I'll never get to build that old school car that I thought I could. I'll never learn to bake another thing or learn a new language. I will have only known English my whole life. I'll never get to fall in love again. I'll never get to make somebody feel valuable. At some point in your life, you will get to that point where you understand that. If you have any amount of intellect, right? If you are a processing human being, you know that there is that level of end. And for me as a social worker, especially someone who's worked in geriatrics and been with older adults for a long time, seeing how many people get to that point and be like, they just didn't do anything that they feel like they wanted to do. And then you leave those remnants with your community around you. You leave the people around you knowing that you were unfulfilled. The men and women that love you, social workers, and anyone who has to deal with loving you at the end of your life, then knows how fulfilled you were. That you wish you could have gone on that trip, that you wish you would have made that phone call, that you wish you wouldn't have worked so much. Whatever it is at the end of your life, there will be a moment that you assess it all. And for me, somebody who cares, like, what are we doing here, you know? Like, I don't want you guys to get to the end of your life and be like, dang, I should have done more. Or, dang, I wasn't happy. And that comes from every day being like, what does it mean to be happy? What does it take? Where's fulfillment? And if you get to the end of your life and you're like, I had a purpose and I did it. I worked every day to do it. Then that leaves everyone else around you knowing that happiness comes from doing your purpose. Working every day, waking up every day, structuring your environment, your friendships to be happy. So for me, self-actualization has been a weird journey because although I know all these things and I know that there's an end and that at the end you start to calculate how much happiness is there were and say how fulfilling a life that was. And then that'll impact the people that you leave here on earth with you left. Although I've known all of this forever, putting one foot in front of the other has been hard for me. And I think it took a level of awareness that I wanted to be happy and that I wanted skills and wanted specific steps to be happy to actually get to happy. It took becoming a hobbyist of happiness, a hobbyist of personal growth, to really work on my happiness. And I don't think it's going to be a few day thing or a few month thing. I think it really needs to become embedded into who I am, much like the insecurities and anxiety and things that have kept me from happiness for so long. So I'm excited to be on this journey, and I hope that you guys daily work on your gratitude. At least 5 minutes a day, grab your gratitude journal, write about what makes you happy. Take care of who you are tomorrow, today. Have integrity for that person tomorrow, today. Meditate. Use your time to get awareness and create an environment around you that's good for you and makes you happy, and you're good for other people. Be the change that you want to see in the world. If you need a number one fan, be somebody else's number one fan. And learn how hard that is, and learn how to get that, and learn what environments that's required of, but try to work toward happiness every single day on a journey. Let happiness be the drink that you sip from on the road of exhaustion, because happiness is not a place that you get to. Happiness is a journey that you're on, and hopefully every day you're exhausted from fulfillment. So that's the end of our episode today. And I hope you guys thumbs up. I hope you guys comment, question, concern, subscribe if you're in the chat. I'm going to take this second to read through the chat because this is where I'm going to open it up for discussions and conversations. And I'm really glad that you guys are here today. I hope this episode on self-actualization was cool for you guys. And if you liked anything, if you could clip it or whatever. But thank you everybody for coming. And like, you can always call in on the Discord and do like a video chat so I can like talk to you. But I'm doing good today. I hope you guys are doing good today. I am having a great day. I for sure kind of got to go to the bathroom. I was supposed to have a guest today. Give me 1 second. I need to go to the bathroom. But I was supposed to have a guest today. She couldn't make it, but I'm still so happy to be here. I was so excited for this episode, honestly. Hold on, give me 1 second. I'm gonna like wash my hands as fast as I can. I made oatmeal raisin cookies today. They're so good. People have been saying negative things for no reason. People have been trying to save money. Yeah. I'm doing cool today. You said black screen, you can't see me. Can you still not see me? I hope you can see me. This episode will be able for you guys to replay it. And it's only like an hour, so I appreciate you guys giving me thumbs up and stuff and sharing the stream. And if this helped you, save it, rewatch it, share it with somebody else, it might help, because I really want the rest of the world to be happy if I'm gonna get happy. Do you mean try going out and get out of your comfort zone? 100%. If you have you ever seen that diagram where it says like comfort zone and then growing is on the outside of it? It's like, let me find the picture. Where is that? Is it this? Ooh! I'm coding. I'm coding, y'all. Okay, here. This is the... You see, it says where the magic happens outside of the comfort zone. The comfort zone right here. Everything else. So if you're inside of a comfort zone, if you're comfortable, if you're choosing to not grow, and because it's a choice to be like, I want to be comfortable, I'm happy, I'm content, I'm satiated. Like I always try to talk to you guys about the content animal is the non-growing animal. The content animal is like I don't have any problems, so I don't have to be innovative. I don't have any needs to be met, so I don't have to figure out how to fulfill needs and gain skills. You know, I don't have any problems. I don't have to be innovative. I don't have a need. I don't have to work on gaining skills. It's like, no. And that's not to say find unhappinesses. That's not to be like, my friends are bad because blah, blah, blah. It's not to say to find a deficit. It's to find a need and a place for you to grow. Deficits are real needs, right? Like deficits are, right? Like how they say like a need versus a want. Like a need is something that you have to have. Like you need a driver's license to get on an airplane. You know what I mean? But it's like, you don't need people to understand, listen, and respect you. You have to grow into an environment that's accepting of who you are and learn to have self-esteem that's not contingent to people treating you. Yeah, okay, this episode was cool for you. Heck yeah. I'm trying to keep them light and breezy. This week was information heavy. It was super dense. The next couple of weeks, like the next 11 weeks, easy breezy. Every episode, just conversation, just chat. An hour of me telling you a story or talking anecdotally to you guys about stuff, or presenting like studies and facts and like talking to you about what other researchers and people have said, and then like a half hour for comments, questions, concerns, video call-ins, everything like that. Like I really, this week was just like, hey, we need to talk about what security is and what people have said it is and what it actually is, and we need to talk about the principles of self-esteem, because next week when I'm talking to you about this, about self-esteem, like next week, probably self-esteem is going to be about friendships and why when friendships end do we feel shitty, like what's going on with that, and why when my best friend gets a new best friend. Like the other day I saw a thing on TikTok that was like, when your new best friend gets a new best friend and it's like, don't talk to me, that like thing. And it's like, why do we feel so bad when people in our life who we love and get esteem from and get our sense of self, like why is it so hard when they change to liking someone else? So I want to make sure you guys are equipped. I was going to say harnessed. I want to make sure you're harnessed. I want to make sure that you guys are equipped with the most skills that I can give you, okay? Okay. We've reached 1 hour. Do you guys have any comments, questions, concerns? Anything for me? I just want to leave you guys with, let's do one thing of meditation, or one thing of gratitude. It says, an opportunity I have today that I only dreamt about having previously. So if you want to fill that in, that's a really good one. And I think that you need to write it, repeat it to yourself, put it down on Twitter. Get a Twitter account if you don't have a Twitter account. I don't know. But I really suggest anytime that we're doing this, like, write this down. You actually physically go and write it down. Get you a fluffy pen or whatever you need. But write this down, because this is going to be your affirmation for today. And the, like, just this one quote down here. It takes 2 seconds. You can put it, you can read it, you can love it. But this one, it says, my capacity for joy is limitless. My potential for love is infinite. Sometimes it's hard to say those things, but I think that when you are getting down on yourself or say something crazy about the way that you love or the love that you deserve or the love that you're receiving, you can say, my potential for love is infinite. Rewrite those scripts. Retell yourself some things, okay? My capacity for joy is limitless. You can find more happiness. You can find more joy. So get a Twitter or make a note or put it in your Instagram story or whatever. But just every day, make sure you're finding places that you're grateful. You're talking to yourself in positive ways. And you're saying things to yourself that are nicer than you would say. If you wouldn't say things that you say to yourself to other people, if you would be horrified and mortified and embarrassed to the highest of all degrees if you said some of the things that you say about yourself to other people, just think about that and take those words and vocabulary out of your system. If you wouldn't dare say that to another human being, or if you would punch someone in the face for saying that to your mom, then don't say it to yourself, okay? Because you have to be your biggest fan, and you have to require good treatment from you to require good treatment from other people, okay? So take some time today and get happy and be happy. And I appreciate you guys so much for coming and being here. This is like by far my most favorite episode of the week. The wrap up, the conclusion, the self-actualization. So come on Saturday at 4 p.m. for physiological needs. We're going to be talking about health and food and eating and all the good yummies in your tummies. Okay? First thing first, nourishment, I think. Because we all need food to survive. We need water to survive, so maybe we could do clean water. But food on Saturday. I love you guys. Thank you for coming. This episode was great. We're great.